I liked that parcel delivery man. He walked up to the door because the door's wide open. I'm about to go out and do some work there. And he goes, "Good morning." So I knew he was there, which is good because yesterday the Amazon guy snuck up on me whilst I was in the garden and it scared the crap out of me. And I told him, "You, my friend, would make an excellent sniper." This is what's just been delivered. These are wind bags. Woo! You put these underneath the door that you're installing and then pump the little foot so that it slowly raises the door up to the right place that you can screw them in. I've never used them before, but I've seen them being used online, and I thought I would order them. Gonna need them for my project in the basement because I'm installing a door there anyway, and it'll be a great opportunity to show people a little sneaky DIY hack. Today I was finishing off installing the water butt. This is for the little platform that it will go on. I've cut 4 centimetres off of this piece. This goes at the top. And then for the 2 side pieces, I've basically taken off an angled slice. This is kind of guesswork. I didn't really know exactly what kind of angle to make it, but this sort of looked right. I know that's a super unscientific way of me measuring, but let's see if it fits. I feel a bit guilty. There's a really lovely man who always walks past my house. But he's so chatty, and I don't really have, not only do I not have the time today, I don't really have the, not very personable this morning. I went and just hid in the house while he walked past. That's what happens when you're an introvert. It is so nice out here today. I just popped up to enjoy the sunshine. It was a mistake. It is the start of spring. I can tell today's the day, and it's just making me really happy. Gonna finish this. Gonna finish this today. So this was said platform. I pilot drilled some holes for the decking screws to go into. I've measured this out so I know that it's going to fit, but I still decided to do the 2 edge pieces of decking first. So when I do the middle ones, I can just make the spacing in between them equal so it doesn't look odd. And I have to say, the angle worked out really well. I don't know if I can explain how I measured it, but I sort of pushed it up against the wall and then I measured the height difference between both ends of the wood. Anyway, whatever I did, it seems to have worked well. I cut most of these pieces on my new miter saw. 1 or 2 of these I did cut with my circular saw just because the piece of wood was very long and I couldn't take it all the way down my stairs because of the angle. So slight bit of rippage here. And before I screwed this together, I got some of these lint-free rags and I oiled the ends of the wood. Now obviously this wood is treated and it's designed to be used outside, but once you've cut into it, that bit isn't. So that's why I protected it with this decking oil. I also took a moment to check the back because I know some of these decking oils are actually flammable. So once you've used this rag, some people just leave it in their house and it sets itself on fire. And I didn't want that, so I thought I would check. As well as oiling the cut ends, I also put some oil into the areas that the screws were. I'll oil the whole thing when I get round to it, but these were just some areas that I was giving special attention to. And I also learned the hard way from when I did my decking in the back garden to not go in too deep with the screws. That first one's about right. This one's a little bit too deep. Because on occasions where I've needed to take the decking back off for whatever reason, perhaps something's rotting, if they're in too deep, they are so hard to get back out again. And actually, this time I decided to buy proper decking screws. As you can see, they've got this little hex head instead of the usual cross heads. These are a lot easier to screw in and to take out because they have much better grip, much better purchase on the drill bit. Luckily, the right size drill bit actually came with these screws. I'm sure I have a drill bit of that size, but can I find it when I need it? Probably not. So overall, pretty happy with that purchase. I decided to use 2 drills so that I didn't have to keep changing the bits in each of them. And this was a bit topsy-turvy. I would usually use that wood bit in this drill, because this is designed better for drilling into wood. But I wanted to reserve this for the hex bit because it was very short, and if you put that into your impact driver, it just kind of falls into the space. So this would need a bit holder to go in there first to hold the smaller bit. I must confess, I've always been a little bit baffled by this. Perhaps one of you know and you can tell me in the comments. Why do impact drivers not just support smaller bits without having to have an additional bit holder? So here you have a sneaky little time lapse of me doing the entire deck. It honestly didn't actually take me that long to build this. If I wasn't doing filming for it, I probably could have built it in like an hour or two. It took me a little bit of time to work out how to install this properly today, because the instructions are to not install it too high or too low, and I couldn't quite work out what it meant by that. So this rainwater diverter, which is what's on the pipe on the left, takes the rainwater down into the water butt, but it also acts as the overflow for the water butt. So you need it to be high enough for gravity to take the water down into the water butt, but not so high that it's above the water butt. Otherwise the water butt itself would overflow before the water reached the diverter on the left. So I finally sussed it and it's now at the perfect height. I'm just sat on my sofa doing what I call the big cut. So I have finished installing the water butt. I haven't had time to actually record some of the content that I want to include in today's vlog video, but because I wanted to finish the video that I am producing today for Wix, because that's a priority, it's a deadline, it's got to be in today. And so I've just been taking all the footage. I had 40 minutes worth of footage, and that's over about 30 different videos. There's loads for me to cut out, so I have to work out how do I make that into a 1-minute video. I have to get rid of almost all of the content and just keep the stuff that is interesting or poignant. Sometimes it's so hard to get rid of content because there's stuff that I really want to include in this video, but it would have just made it far too long. Might keep it for some other videos. I put it all in one video on CapCut, and then I just take out all of the stuff that isn't relevant and I keep the stuff that I would like to have in the video. It will still be too long and I'll have to decide what points not to cover. So then I will do what I call the big cut. So I will copy and paste that draft that I'm working on, because I'm worried that if I do a big cut and it turns out terrible, that I can't go back. I have to start from the beginning. So I copy and paste my draft, just take out the stuff that I think isn't, like, it's all adding value, but it's like I'm picking between, is this more interesting or is this more interesting? And I'll take the thing away that I think is less interesting. So I start with all this juicy content and I just get left with the stuff that is like really good, like the filming quality is really good, the voiceover is really good. And so I'm now doing that last little bit of the big cut where I have 19 seconds to get rid of. So the video is currently 1 minute 19 long. I need it to be a minute because I find that performs best in terms of length of content. It's also a requirement in terms of it being a short video and republishing on other channels. So I have 19 seconds to get rid of. I have to work out what's not going to make the cut. I have to shorten the audio as well. After I finish the big cut, I send the video over to my agent and they will forward it on to the client. And to celebrate reaching this mini deadline, I go to the cafe and I buy myself a little bit of a cake. This was Rocky Road. And a coffee with soy milk. Just feeling a bit disappointed that I couldn't show you the rest of what I did with the water butt because it's raining and my phone has a cracked screen. It makes it very challenging. But there is one benefit of it raining. I can show you the water butt working because obviously the water's coming down off the roof. Have a look at this. Look! It's working! Oh, I don't know why that's so satisfying. I suddenly realised that it doesn't matter if it's raining, I can still show you what I've done. I didn't actually get a chance to oil this platform, so once this has dried fully, I will go back and do that. But what I really want to show you was what I did with the diverter. If you recall, I was having some issues with this because I didn't know that it fit the square as well as round guttering. I cut out the excess so that it was a square on the top and it just slid right in. And same on the bottom, because it's rounded but it's got slightly square edges and it just slots in. Unfortunately, it just slots in with 2 hands, so I was messing around with this and then regretted it instantly. And I realised I was going to have to put my phone down to fix this mess that I've just made. And if you can believe it, things started to get a little bit worse. And now the whole thing's just falling apart and we can all agree that I should have just not touched it at all. So the clips that hold the drain to the wall are not very tight because the screws are completely rusted. And therefore, it's actually not holding the drain pipe in place at all. So at some point I'll replace those clips. But whilst it is apart, let me show you inside. This is what it looks like. Water can still go down the main drain, but a lot of it gets caught around the edges, which then drips down this hole. That hole takes you down the pipe and into the water butt. And this is what I mean when it says it also acts as an overflow. So your water butt can never get too full. When I cut the bottom part of this pipe, I was actually in a little bit of a rush, so I've cut it wonky, so I just need to go back and cut a new, fresh, straight line. But I'm not going to do that whilst it's raining, so for now I can put it to sleep. A really lovely person in the DMs on my last video said that I really should ask people to subscribe to my channel. So this is me inviting you to subscribe to my channel whilst I make this lovely cut for entertainment. It really is super helpful when people subscribe, not to mention really encouraging. So I'll see you for tomorrow's vlog.